Danielle Colby finally talks about Frank Fritz, which is a big deal for fans of American Pickers. For years, people have tried to guess why Frank left and what Danielle is thinking. She is now ready to talk about what happened between Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz. Did Danielle decide which side to support? It's not just talk, it's her side of the story, full of real facts and feelings. Stay tuned because Danielle Colby is about to finally say what everyone has been thinking. Find out what's been going on with TV's best picking team behind the scenes. Let's start. Danielle Colby wasn't always a TV star. When American Pickers first started in 2010, she was just a friend helping out. Frank Fritz and Mike Wolfe were the ones who hit the road and looked for cool stuff in old barns. Danielle stayed in Iowa and ran the store where they sold their finds called Antique Archaeology. She took calls, looked for leads, and made sure everything kept going. People liked her right away because of her tattoos, fun personality, and willingness to be honest. Danielle wasn't just there for looks, though. She was the one who kept everything together. The show did really well because of Mike and Frank. They were friends for years because they both liked old stuff and grew up in Iowa. Danielle saw how well they got along. Mike always talked about saving history because he had big plans. Frank was more quiet and paid attention to small things, like how an old toy worked. It was funny to watch them fight. Mike wanted an old sign, and Frank was interested in a motorbike part. When they called Danielle from the road, they would joke about who won the day, which made her laugh. Even though she wasn't in the car, she liked being a part of their team. In the beginning, things were easy. They would drive around in their white van and look through other people's things for gems. Danielle always made sure the shop was ready for what they brought back. They would tell her about their trips and how they found old signs or broken bikes. She would help them decide what to do with them. A lot of people came into the shop to talk to her and ask about Mike and Frank. Danielle knew things wouldn't stay easy for long, even though it was fun. The show was getting bigger, and troubles were going to get even worse. She knew Mike and Frank pretty well. Mike always moved forward and had lots of thoughts. Frank liked to take things slowly and think about the little things. Danielle was in the middle. She would ask Mike about his plans and call Frank if she thought he was tired. They put their faith in her, and she did too. Even back then, she could tell there were small signs of trouble. It felt like a small family. Frank would sometimes be quiet, and Mike would try too hard. That's all there is to it for now, just hints of what might happen later. Danielle Colby was there when American Pickers went viral, and she saw it all. It began slowly. Mike had been filming things with a shaky camera for years to sell the idea. Getting dirty, he would drag Frank along and climb into old barns. Danielle came from the shop and helped them find leads. Networks kept saying no because they thought no one would want to see two guys pick through trash. Mike wouldn't give up, though. There were 3 of them when the History Channel took a chance in 2010. The first show was seen by 1 million people. It was crazy to Danielle. Overnight, the store turned into a zoo. A lot of fans came to see where the magic happened. Danielle became well known all of a sudden. People who saw her on TV wanted to take pictures with her. She would smile, show them around, and tell them about cool things like the old gas pump Mike found. It was crazy and fun. To keep up, she had to hire more people. People were offering pictures, and friends were calling all the time to ask about Frank and Mike. Danielle liked how lively it was, but it was too much for her to handle. Mike and Frank were living their best life. They'd call her from different places, happy about what they had found. Mike found a big glowing sign one time and just couldn't stop talking about it. Frank got an old fire extinguisher and talked about it like he had won a prize. Danielle would laugh, write it down, and get the shop ready for whatever they brought in. The show wasn't easy anymore, though. They were on the road for long hours, 250 days a year, making movies. She could tell by the sound of their voices that they were hurt but still going. But fame hit each of them in different ways. Mike put his weight on it. It did very well after he opened a store in Nashville. A lot of people lined up to see him. It looked great to Danielle. He was leaving his mark. Frank didn't like being the center of attention. He stayed in Illinois and didn't make a big deal about picking. "You're the quiet star, huh?" she'd tease him. He would grunt and change the subject. Danielle could tell that Mike was loud and Frank was calm. It worked on TV, and she kept things steady at home. She also had fans. A lot of people liked her tattoos, her cool clothes, and her burlesque flair. When she put pictures online, lots of people would comment on them. They'd tell me, "You're the coolest." Danielle really liked it. It was worth the long days. She would share little shop news like a strange doll Frank found, and fans went crazy. But she saw that the show was changing. They were no longer the only ones picking. There were teams, ideas, and a lot of cash. It wasn't so much an adventure as it was a job. There was more and more talk. Episodes cost $250,000, 0 cents by 2015, which is more than they did in the beginning. Danielle saw how much stress was building up. Frank just wanted to tell it like it was, while Mike wanted every find to be a hit. She would hear them fight sometimes. Not anything big, just little things. "We need a big score," Mike would say. "I'm not digging for your TV moment," Frank would snap. Danielle stayed out of it and worked on the shop. She liked being the calm one that everyone knew they could count on. Danielle was proud of how crazy the ride was. A huge number of people watched the show every week. She was amazed at how far they'd come from a small shop in Iowa to having TVs everywhere. She knew it couldn't last because it was too good to be true. Fame is hard to get. It takes things from you and gives them to you. She wasn't sure what it was yet, but she knew it was coming. She just kept the shop running for now, getting ready for whatever came next. By 2017, Danielle Colby could tell something wasn't right. Even though American Pickers was still a hit, there was trouble going on behind the scenes. She wasn't out picking, but Mike and Frank told her everything. Many people worked on the show, and there was a lot of money at stake. Mike joined in and pushed to make it even bigger. He would call her from Nashville and talk about new things he had found and plans for the shop. Danielle liked how lively he was, but she could tell he was stressed. Everyone had to do more work because he wanted every show to be amazing. Frank was not like other people. It seemed like he was tired when he did call. He had been sick with Crohn's disease, Danielle knew. It hurt too much for him, and it was getting worse. He didn't say much about it, but she would ask, "Are you okay out there?" He'd say, "Yeah, I'm just tired," and then he'd leave. She didn't try. He kept to himself, but the crew told her that Frank had been missing days and looked bad on set. Danielle began to worry. He loved to pick, but his body couldn't keep up. She was busy at the shop. People still came and asked about Mike and Frank. "Where has Frank been?" they would say. Danielle would just smile and say that he was out picking berries. She didn't want to spread gossip, but she knew something was wrong. Frank called less often, and Mike was busy. They were growing apart because of the show. Frank lost it one time. He called her from a shoot and was mad about something. Mike complained, "He's making this into a circus." Danielle just heard and didn't say anything. She said, "He's just excited." Frank sighed and hung up. She told Mike not to. She didn't fight, but it stuck with her. That kind of thing used to make them laugh, not fight. She wasn't sure if the show was worth it if it made things worse between them. She kept the shop open anyway, though, and pretended everything was fine. Fans still didn't see what was wrong. The shows looked great. Mike and Frank were having fun and finding cool things. Danielle knew that the rough spots had been fixed. She thought, that's not the whole story, but she didn't say anything. She liked her job as shop owner because it kept her out of trouble. Mike would come over sometimes, planning lots of things. Frank didn't show up very often. She missed the times when they used to get together and tell stories. It was clear that big things were going to happen by 2019. Frank's health was getting worse. The crew rushed because he missed more shots. Mike didn't give up, but Danielle could tell he was mad. He would sigh on the phone as he wished Frank was there. She wasn't sure what to say. The show was now like a machine that wouldn't stop for anyone. It was getting worse for Danielle, and she couldn't fix it. She wished Mike and Frank could work it out before things got worse. The wheels came off in March 2020. After his last American Pickers episode aired, Frank Fritz was no longer on the show. Mike told Danielle Colby. He called her late one night in a low voice. He said, "Frank's done." Mike didn't have much to say when she asked why. "He's not coming back at all." Danielle didn't try too hard. She could tell he was upset. She knew it was going to happen. It hurt, even though it was coming. Frank had been a part of this from the beginning with his silly laugh and love of finding strange things. It didn't feel right that the van was moving without him. Frank split his side. He told the Sun later that it had been 2 years since he had talked to Mike. He told Mike, "My back hurts," but Mike didn't even call. Danielle didn't totally believe that. She knew why Frank felt that way, because she had seen Mike move chutes around when Frank was sick. He was in pain, and it's possible that he needed more than just the regular adjustments. She didn't call him to see what was going on. That wasn't her style. She thought he'd get in touch if he needed to. He wasn't. Fans went crazy. Why did Frank leave? They asked on the web, did Mike leave him? Danielle saw the posts but didn't say anything. To avoid answering the questions, she kept the shop open by sharing pictures of old things. She didn't want to side with anyone. Mike had always been her friend, but Frank had always been too, and she missed him. "How's it going?" She'd text Mike. He'd say, "We're taking care of it." Frank wasn't on her mind. It was too honest. The truth was a mess. Because of his alcoholism, Frank's Crohn's had gotten so bad that he had to go to the hospital 17 times in 2 years. The crew told Danielle about it. She didn't believe he was a mess. People do things when they are in pain. She remembers him making fun of a find and being very excited about it. It was awful that guy was running out of time. Mike kept shooting and adding new people. Danielle watched the shows. They were good, but not the same. Even though he had been grumpy lately, she missed Frank's vibe. She had to deal with her own chaos. Fans were still crammed into the store. The outbreak in 2020 threw everyone off. Danielle wore a mask and talked through the glass when she could keep it open. A lot of people kept asking about Frank. She would say something like, "He's taking a break." She didn't want to lie, but she didn't know the whole story. Mike wrote on the internet that he would miss Frank and called him a brother. Danielle read it and said yes. Mike really meant it, but Frank's words stuck with her. He told the Sun that he felt like he was in second place and Mike was the star. Danielle got it. Mike had a big dream and was the face. Like most people, Frank liked to pick small things which his fans loved. Frank might have felt left behind, but she didn't think Mike pushed him out. Mike ran the show and Frank wasn't keeping up. They didn't talk it out, which she wished they had. Danielle didn't look up. Frank's van stopped moving, so she had to move with it. She thought about her life, the shop, and her dancing. Fans were thinking about everything from money to fights to jealousy. It didn't bother her. She knew that Mike and Frank were in pain. She reached her breaking point and couldn't fix it. Her only choice was to wait and see what came next. She wasn't ready to talk yet. It came afterward. First things first, Danielle Colby finally spoke out in July 2021, and it changed everything. Fans and gossip had been after her since Frank left. She had a lot of attention on the web. What's wrong with Frank? Choose a side. She didn't like it, so she took out her phone, took a picture of herself with Mike and shared it on Instagram. She wrote, Back on the road with my best friend and big brother, whom I fully support and stand behind." She was on Team Mike. She wasn't done, though. She talked about Frank Fritz some more. As she typed, things became real. "I'm really sorry about Frank's death on the show," she said. "I feel so sorry for his problems. During the last 10 years, I have watched everything." Danielle Colby says the claims are true, but she doesn't have a big fight story to go with it. She knew how hard it was for Frank to deal with things, maybe more than just his health. Fans went crazy reading everything. "Why do you struggle?" they asked. It wasn't clear from her. She was only there to share what she knew, not to spread rumors. Then she wrote something very sad. "Frank caused so much pain for himself that it has been hard to watch. I really hope Frank gets all the help he needs to get better after being sick for years." That hurt people. Danielle wasn't mad. She was actually scared. It hurt her to see Frank get worse. She wasn't mad at or angry at him. She only wished for his health to improve. She was telling him, yes, the troubled rumors are true, but not what you think. She said this about why she'd posted. "The only reason I'm talking to this right now is because everyone is guessing what I said. Because tabloids can't question me, they're taking my words out of context." Danielle was sick of fake news stories making her silence mean something else. "This is how I really feel," she said. "I hope everyone gets better." She wanted her to tell her the truth, no hearsay or lies. She was sick of letting other people talk for her. A lot of fans spoke out. Some people really liked it. Some people said, "Danielle seems so real. Tell us more." She didn't mind. She wasn't telling everyone everything. She had known Mike and Frank for a very long time. They had had shop talks and road calls together. She chose Mike because he had always been there for her, but Frank was still important to her. Her post didn't say anything big. It was a look. The rest was obvious, but she said what she wanted to say. After that, life went on. Danielle kept the shop busy. People still came and asked questions. She'd smile, say, "Check my post," and then leave. Mike kept picking, and she would help him feel better online. Frank didn't say anything, and she didn't reach out. She had cleared the air and taken a stand, which was her job. That talk about a fight, that was killed. It was stronger, Frank's pain and Mike's push. She didn't say anything else so fans could figure it out. Things calmed down after Danielle's post from 2021, but they weren't easy. Frank Fritz wasn't on American Pickers, and Danielle Colby had to watch what happened. She didn't say much more online, just dance and shopping pics to keep things light. She knew Frank was in bad shape, though, behind the scenes. His Crohn's had been bad for a long time. She knew he was trying to get better, but it wasn't happening quickly. Danielle didn't call him because she thought he needed some space. She only hoped he would get better. Danielle helped Mike keep the show going. He would sometimes stop by the shop. He looked tired but happy. He would tell them, "We're still picking." She would nod, glad that he was still there. Fans don't ask her about Frank as much now. Some people were talking less because of her post, but she could still hear whispers from the crew. Frank wasn't feeling well. More trips to the hospital mean more trouble. Danielle felt bad. She remembers him grinning like a child as he dragged a broken bike into the shop. That person was getting away. Then 2022 came along quickly. Frank had a big, scary stroke, a team member told Danielle. Mike forgot about everything else and went to see him. There were no specifics she asked about, but she heard Mike spent a lot of time there, sitting by Frank's bed. He would bring small things like old pictures and things they had found together that seemed cool to Danielle. Even though there was quiet, it showed Mike still cared. She didn't come over. She wasn't really close to Frank, but she watched it. Frank took a while to get better. He needed a lot of help after the stroke because it was so bad. Then it all ended in October 2024. Frank died. Mike talked to Danielle. He sounded really upset. He said, "He's gone." She was lost for words, so she just listened. Mike told her he had been there all day and brought things from the days they picked. Danielle had a sore throat. She knew Frank's quirks and finds for a very long time. It felt like we lost a part of the show when we lost him. It wasn't on her post. It was easy to understand. Fans had no idea what was going on. They heard Danielle's post and saw Frank leave, but not this. Mike didn't say anything either. He just posted a short note online about missing his brother. That was okay with Danielle. She didn't want to make a fuss. The whispers started up again, though. Some people say Mike left Frank. Their friendship ended because of the fame. She turned her head away. She had seen Frank fight his body and Mike step up. It wasn't that easy. Danielle Colby finally says something about Frank Fritz after keeping quiet for a while. She's sick of waiting now that Frank has been dead for months. For the interview, she just sits down. Nothing fancy, just her. She says Frank's body gave out. I saw it all happen over the years, the Crohn's pain and everything else. He wasn't pushed out by Mike. Frank had to stop. It goes straight up. Danielle, don't waste time. The reports are true, not about a fight, but about a guy who lost his cool. She points to the thumbnail and says, it's time to tell everything. This is for them. She makes it very clear. Frank really wanted to pick, but his health wouldn't let him. They were in and out of the hospital 17 times in 2 years. By 2018, Mike moved the chutes and waited to help, but Frank was already done. She had seen Frank squirm during calls and Mike get tense over plans. He didn't quit because he didn't like it. He quit because he couldn't do it, she says. Fans are interested because it's not crazy news. After that, she gives it to Mike. She says, Mike stood by him. He was there after the stroke, paid the bills, and brought old things to the hospital. He was there when Frank died. Danielle doesn't think she knows. She does. It was from people close to them she knew. She says Mike didn't talk about it much, but he didn't need to. He showed up. This is how she puts an end to the reports of a fight. Mike wasn't really bad. It was life. For a second, she talks about herself. She says, I've known them since the beginning. Frank was quiet and liked to find little things. Mike had big dreams and saved a lot of stuff. They were great together. Danielle smiles as she thinks of it. It was hard because of fame, long days, and a lot of pressure. But it wasn't hate that broke them up. Frank's body just broke. She's not mad or sad, being honest. Fans now have the whole story, and it's heavy. Many people wanted a story with a lot of fighting and backstabbing. That doesn't work for Danielle. She laughs a little and says, it's not that exciting. Frank fought for his life, not Mike. Frank didn't fight to keep the show. Mike did. She had given hints about this in 2021, but now she's said it all. She says, I didn't say more back then. It wasn't correct. It is now that Frank is gone. She's not here to get likes. She wants to know the truth. It was a short discussion, but it worked. They really made something cool, she says. It was their thing to go after junk on American pickers. Mike keeps it going, and Frank's part is still there. Danielle is done. There were no big tears or long speeches. She says the stories are true by giving facts, not just words. Fans can hear and feel it. Stop trying to guess. She told him the story right from what she saw over the years. It's a simple ending, she says. That's it. Not a big deal, just everyday life. Both of them have done great. Danielle leaves it there and walks away. Frank is no longer there. Mike is still picking, and she has told everything. It's not a trick, it's the end. That makes her happy, and she hopes her fans do too. Now that the whole story is out, it's her turn to tell it. Finally, Danielle Colby told us the truth about American pickers, Frank's health and Mike's honor. It's all clear now. There were no fights, just hard times and sadness at the end. What do you think about Danielle's story? Does it match what you thought? Put it down below. We're reading all of the comments. Sign up to get more videos like this. Thanks for seeing.